racism doesn't exist within the GOP, the grand old party, the MAGA party, the MAGA Republican Party, then you are living in the world of fantasy. Tyrone Bowman live. I am going to talk about how an expose by Politico revealed group racist text messages by some young Republicans. And I will be reading certain articles from various sources on tonight, from USA Today, from The Independent, from News One, and also from the Journal. So I'm not going to waste any time. Let's get down to it. I'm going to cover as much as I can. Now, is this indicative of all Republicans? No. But wherever racism and bigotry rears its ugly head, be it with the Republicans or the Democrats, I'm going to talk about it. No one gets a pass on this program. Let's start with the article in USA Today. The headline reads, "Young Republicans call for immediate resignations of leaders who made racist texts in chat." And this is coming from Washington, D.C. This article was written by Joey Garrison for USA Today on October 16th. Quote, "The Young Republican National Federation called for the immediate resignations of leaders in the organization exposed in a Politico story to have sent racist, anti-Semitic, and other derogatory text messages to one another in a private chat. Included in the text messages in the Telegram chat are racial epithets disparaging Black people, someone calling rape, quote, epic, end quote, the same individual writing in support of genocidal Nazi German dictator Adolf Hitler, jokes about putting political opponents in gas chambers, and praise for Republicans who, quote, support slavery, end quote. Now, there are over 15,000 members in this group chat. And this is the type of chat that they have when they think somebody is not paying attention to them and what they're doing. But it goes on every single day. They just happen to get caught. Of course, they're just going to say some Republicans, but they happen to get caught. And now they don't want them apart there. So, quote, "We are appalled by the vile and inexcusable language revealed in the Politico article published today," the Young Republicans Board of Directors said in a statement October 14. "Such behavior is disgraceful, unbecoming of any Republican, and stands in direct opposition to the values our movement represents." What values? You tell us, what values does the Republican Party represent at this point in time in America? These statements are nothing more than a sham. It's a cover-up because they don't want people to think ill of them as we get ready to go into the midterm elections. We all know what goes on within the Republican Party. We know they hate Black people with the worst type of hatred. And it's covered up, it's disguised, because their candidates cannot win unless they are demonizing and dehumanizing and belittling Black people. And if these same statements were made, let's just say by some other group of people, there would be such outrage right now, calling for expulsion of them from colleges and universities, calling for them to be censored for life, calling for them to be arrested and charged. Those involved must immediately resign from all positions within their state and local Young Republicans organizations. We must hold ourselves to the highest standards of integrity, respect, and professionalism, the organization said. Several of the text messages written over 7 months in a chat titled, quote, listen to this, "Restore War Room." R-E-S-T-O-R-E, Restore War Room, end quote, were from Peter Gaunta, former chair of the New York State Young Republicans. Text messages also came from 3 other leaders in the New York chapter, as well as Young Republican leaders in Kansas, Arizona, and Vermont. They knew exactly what these people were and who they were, and they knew what they were doing all the time. This came as no surprise. They just got caught. Politico decided to run the story and talk about it, and now all of a sudden, oh, we're so appalled. You're not appalled. You know that this crap goes on every day. You think we don't know what goes on behind closed doors? But see, what's going to happen, what's in your mouth, what's in your heart is going to come out of your mouth. You're all going to slip up one day on the national stage and call black people the N-word the same way you do behind closed doors in the Senate chambers and in Congress, when you're laughing, when you're having your cigar and drinking your cognac and your wine and all that kind of stuff. It'll come out of your mouth. Kaunta, who was most recently chief of staff for Republican New York Assembly member Mike Riley, is no longer working for the lawmaker after the report Politico reported. He had no choice but to let him go. He didn't want to let him go. He had no choice because the pressure is too much. And this is one of the main reasons why when the midterm elections come up, you're all going to be shocked because people are going to come out by the millions untold, and they are going to show you what the power of democracy looks like going into 2026. Politico wrote that the messages, quote, reveal a culture where racist, anti-Semitic, and violent rhetoric circulate freely, and where the Trump-era loosening of political norms has made such talk feel less taboo among those positioning themselves as the party's next leaders, quote, end quote. The Young Republican National Federation, which has members between the ages of 18 and 40, has chapters in states across the country. Democrats seized on the Politico report. House Democratic leader Hakeem Jeffries posted photos of Representative Elisa Stefanik, Republican from New York, and Representative Mike Lawler with some of the New York Young Republicans detailed in the story. Jeffries said they've been, quote, palling around with these racist, anti-Semitic, and bigoted young Republicans for years, end quote, and I agree with Hakeem Jeffries. I agree with him. You're not appalled. You're all just angry because they exposed your behinds about who you really are and what you are. That's why you're appalled. You're appalled because it came out before the midterm elections. You're appalled because now people are going to see you for who you really are. Oh, I know how y'all talk. I've heard the vitriol. I've heard the language. Lawler denounced the group's chat, calling the comments disgusting and demanding the resignations of all young Republican leaders who made them. Stefanik also condemned the remarks to Politico through a spokesperson. Vice President J.D. Vance, however, pushed back at outcries over the chat group. He pointed to text messages recently exposed from Virginia Democratic Attorney General candidate Jay Jones, in which Jones joked the Republican State House Speaker should, quote, get, quote, 2 bullets to the head, end quote, and express hope his 2 children would die. All right, let's examine both of these comments. First of all, there's no justification for any of it, but we're not going to deflect from what has been said by some of these young Republicans. And they are the next leaders trying to disguise themselves as Christians, evangelical conservative Christians, and we all know that there's blatant racism and bigotry within the evangelical Christian community. It has been there from its inception, and they only pretended that they were to reconcile with black people and get along with black people because they wanted black money. And as a result of that, now their true colors have come out to the forefront, and we know exactly who you are. And any black person who goes and sits up into these racist evangelical churches, whatever they say about you in coded language, you deserve it, because you don't have any business being there in the first place. They will never accept you as their equal. They will never consider you to be one of them. They will never call you a brother in the sense of what Christendom and the teachings of Yeshua HaMashiach, Jesus the Christ, taught. They're always going to try to intertwine it with some verbiage that has nothing to do with bibliology. Nothing whatsoever. So J.D. Vance decided he wanted to talk about Jay Jones. Well, whatever Jay Jones said, that is unacceptable. And Jay Jones apologized for it the same way that many Republicans have said disgusting things out of their mouths, and they apologize for it. You know, we have reached an apex, ladies and gentlemen, where we have to take a stand for what is right and for what is wrong. If you can't do it, then stand out on the sidelines. Some people want to sit back and they want to reap all the rewards from everybody else's hard work. There are racists and bigots within the Democratic Party still, from the old Dixiecrat era. Yes, I said it. Within the Democratic Party, there are racists and bigots and prejudiced people from that era. Don't forget, the original Dixiecrats were then what the Republicans are now. The Republican Party of old, the GOP, the Grand Old Party, is where the majority of black people were, especially during the Reconstruction era. And the Dixiecrats deflected from the Democratic Party and went over to the Republican Party when the Democratic Party started changing. Do your homework. Pay attention to what's going on. And this is the reason why we must build our studio, ladies and gentlemen. I've been talking to you about it, and I'm going to continue to talk about it until we reach our monetary goal. I'm in the process of building the Tyrone Bowman Live studio so we don't have to have this garbage and I don't have to hold this little thing up in my hand all the time. I can have decent state-of-the-art equipment and cameras and lights and everything to make this a more professional setting atmosphere. And I can sit down and conduct real intelligent interviews with people from all walks of life. And I'm just asking those who like this channel and those who are subscribers to this channel, just send in $1. That's all I'm asking for. We got over 2,300 people who subscribe to this channel. If each person would send in $1, 2 people have already, and I thank you very much, contributed to what I'm attempting to do. Just simply go to my Cash App at Tyrone Bowman Sr., $ PIEXTL number 4. That's $ PIEXL number 4. Just send in $1. Every dollar that you send goes directly to our vendors. All right, now let's get back to this. I'm going to ask for money the same way these Republican, bigoted, racist politicians ask you to support their cause. And they get money, but the coffers are filled with hundreds of millions of dollars by the billionaires who think and act just like them, but they're too coward to come before the camera and tell you what they really are, so they get their spokespersons and their footmen to do the dirty work for them. Yeah, it's true anyhow. So prevailing racism coming from any party is wrong, and it must be called out. But it's more blatantly prevalent at this hour. Quote, "This is far worse than anything said in a college group chat, and the guy who said it could become the AG of Virginia," Vance said in a post on X. "I refuse to join the pearl clutching when powerful people call for political violence," end quote. Oh, really? Well, what about when people were talking about Kamala Harris during the presidential election and the way that she was humiliated and talked about and called every ungodly, filthy name under the sun? What about the mistreatment that came to her from the vitriol, bigoted, racist Republicans? You don't want to talk about that. You try to pretend like, oh, that's just an isolated incident, and you know damn well it's not an isolated incident. It is the norm every single day. It's the norm coming from the modern day MAGA Republicans. And the old Republicans, they the old racists, they too scared to open up their mouths and say anything. So shortly after Vance's statement, Stefaniak echoed the same sentiment in a post on X. Of course, you know, they all run over there to Elon Musk's thing. She accused Democrats hyperventilating about this latest political hit piece of having a double standard when it comes to the rhetoric of Jones. There's no double standard. You got black racists just like you got white racists. Mind you, these were not even candidates for elected office. Oh, really? Well, they were being groomed to become the Republican leaders. There's no justification, and y'all not going to get off the hook by trying to cover up for them. And that's the reason why stuff continues to be prevalent in the earth and in the land today. The justification and the cover up to shield people. See, what they're teaching them, see, now they're pissed with them because they got caught. But what they'll do, or they'll take them back in, they'll quietly, behind the scenes, go to them and say, hey, guys, listen, guys, tone it down a bit. Be a little more, you can be phony. You don't have to be real, but just pretend that you're civil. Pretend that you're conciliatory. Pretend that you're remorseful. We do it every day, but you know we can't stand those blacks. Or the ends, as they call us behind the scenes. We think we're stupid? We know what goes on. You cannot fool us. You cannot lie to us. We see what's happening in this nation. Now, this one is from the Independent. I think the first article was from the Independent. No, that was from USA Today. So the second one is from the Independent. The headline reads, some young Republicans exposed in racist text group chat have resigned after revelations. Young GOP leaders in the New York and Kansas chapters have found themselves out of a job after their revolting texts were leaked. They will get jobs again. Mark my word, every last one of them will, they probably hired already. They will get new jobs quietly. Just wait until everything dies down. No, 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 no. We're going to get you a new job. Don't worry about it. We don't pay those ends no mind. We're the majority. We control the Senate. We control Congress. We control everything. We do what we want to do. That's their attitude. They don't matter. Those blacks don't matter. We're trying to stop these blacks from voting in the midterm election. And y'all went and you messed up everything because you weren't supposed to speak out of turn. So this article for the Independent was written by Rian Lubin in New York. Keep looking at my clock because I need to take a quick break in about 2 minutes. And I don't want to start reading this article and then get into it. You know, it's ironic how a lot of folk, they don't want to talk about the deep, complex issues. Just like in the next video, I'm going to talk about the young black man who was arrested in Philadelphia for the alleged murder of the young woman who was missing. They found his car, and he's trying to disavow all knowledge to the contrary about what happened when he knows that he is guilty. He knows he murdered her. And he thinks by keeping quiet while in police custody that is going to save his behind, but it's not. I'll deal with that in the next video, and I'm going to grind him up to shreds. I told you before, I have no favorites on this channel. If you're right, you're right. If you're wrong, you're wrong. And when the Democrats screw up and say some crap like this, I'll rip them to shreds as well. They don't get a pass because they're Democrats. How many times have I talked about the Democrats being pathetically weak and too conciliatory, too passive, willing to get along, just going along with any and everything, instead of taking a fight to the enemy? There are no friends in politics. Either you're with them or against them. That's how each party rolls, y'all. Either you're with them or against them. That's how they operate. Tyrone Bowman Live. Quick break. I'll be right back right after this. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I had to take a quick break. Let me just say something to the individuals commenting in the group chat. I never asked you all to like me or love me. And I never asked you all to agree with me. If you don't like what I say, start your own YouTube channel. Then you can say what you want, and I'll come in your group chat and lay you out the same way you do me. Stop being such a coward. Show your face on camera. Show who you really are and what you really are. All right, now let's read this article from The Independent. Some of the young Republican leaders whose revolting racist text messages were exposed have lost their jobs after the messages were leaked in a bombshell report. Young GOP leaders in the New York and Kansas chapters have found themselves out of work after their group chat messages, which reportedly said that rape was, quote, epic, end quote, referred to black people as, quote, monkeys, end quote, and praised Adolf Hitler, were exposed by Politico. Let me tell you about the ideology of Adolf Hitler. I've told you all over and over again about Mein Kampf. You need to read the book. I've read it 3 times from cover to cover, from chapter to chapter, word for word, sentence for sentence. So I know it. I know what Project 2026 is all about. Because I know the language. I know the verbiage. I studied it for myself. The problem is you all don't want to take the time to do your homework because too many people are spending their time on social media doing stupid stuff all day long. Buffoonery, foolery. Why do you think one particular person wants to own TikTok? So he can censor everything and turn it into another MAGA spot. Stop being a coward. Young GOP leaders in the New York and Kansas chapters have found themselves out of work. Listen, the 2,900 pages of text messages, we're not talking about 1 or 2, we're talking about 2,900 pages of text messages sent between early January and mid-August this year, laid bare how those who represent the future of the GOP talked behind closed doors. Systemic hatred, systemic bigotry, systemic racism are taught in the home. During the days of slavery, the slave parents taught their children how to mistreat the slaves, how to hate them, how to abuse them, how to dehumanize them. My people were considered to be cargo, to be sold on the open stock exchange as things butt naked for all the world to see. The breasts and the vaginas of the women were hanging out with their buttocks being exposed. The men were standing there butt naked, front and back, like they were buying a slab of meat. And you're going to tell me that we're supposed to forget about what happened here in America? Hell to the nizoff. Never. The transatlantic slave voyage was systemic around the world, not just only in America, around the world. I don't know any other group of people who have been brutally enslaved like our people. The original natives, the indigenous people, suffered greatly in the Americas. I had an opportunity to read the actual treaties that were recently signed, and every one of them have been broken. And you want to try to convince me that these were just a group of harmless individuals? They knew damn well what they were saying in these chat group text messages. That's why they said it. They didn't think it would be exposed. The name of the game is say what you want, but just don't get caught. It's like a man, people who are supposed to be in committed relationships. Cheat all you want, just don't get caught. Steal all you want in politics, but if you go down by yourself. Former president of the New York State Young Republicans, Peter Gunta, a staunch supporter of President Donald Trump, has been fired as chief of staff for New York Assembly member Mike Rowley. He will get a job tomorrow. Mark my words. So he allegedly said that anyone who votes against him in his failed bid to become chair of the Young Republican National Freedom should be sent to the gas chambers. He created the group and was one of the most prolific members, according to the outlet. Here's a picture of him right here. Just put the faces of this racist up here. This one. With the whip-de-doo hairdo to the side. It's all fun and games. But let me tell you something, ladies and gentlemen. There's one group of people, if you talk against, if you say anything about them in any kind of way, they will rip you to shreds and destroy your life. The Anti-Defamation League will be all over your asses, and you know it. There's no blunt way to say it, but just to say it. You try telling them that the atrocities that happened in Nazi Germany didn't occur. They will systematically destroy you. And we as Black people better learn to unite and have the Black Anti-Defamation League. Unite and grow powerful. Don't you know they divide and conquer on purpose, but when you're united cohesively, you can get things done. On this channel, I'm not going to allow these other people talk about that we're trash, we're garbage, we're filth. That's a lie. That's the inferior message of superiority that is systematically proclaimed to psychologically induce the minds of the weak and the gullible within their hierarchy. But I know my history. I used to give my teachers hell in school because I knew the history of my people. And they didn't like it, and I told them I don't care. I don't want to hear nothing about George Washington, and I don't want to hear nothing about him. He never told a lie and all that foolishness. I am going to write about what I want to write about. When I was in school, I read every book in my local library before I graduated from high school. I used to carry a briefcase with me when I was in school, everywhere I went. So the disgraced former GOP advisor who appeared on Fox 5, New York's Political Unusual last month, allegedly called Black people monkeys, referred to them as the watermelon people, and said he loved Hitler in the expletive messages revealed by Politico. There's no alleged in it, he said it. Joseph Maglino, whose social media profile previously identified him as general counsel for the New York State Young Republicans, is no longer employed by the New York State Unified Court System following his alleged messages about gas chambers. Now that's supposed to be a lawyer. Quote, can we fix the showers? Gas chambers don't fit Hitler aesthetic, quote unquote. Ligano allegedly said in response to a message from Gunta. William Hendricks, who was vice chair of the Kansas Young Republicans at the same time of the chat, is no longer employed at the office of Kansas Attorney General Chris Kobach, according to Politico. Hendricks allegedly used the N-word more than a dozen times throughout the chat group. There ain't no alleged in it. The man did it. And all of these people will find jobs working within the GOP. I don't feel sorry for them. They'll all be hired by tomorrow or by tonight. The Kansas chapter of the Young Republicans have been deactivated in light of the scandal, according to the Kansas Reflector. No, they'll just reopen it under a different name. They're reorganized. Bobby Walker, who allegedly described rape as epic, was vice chair of the New York State Young Republicans, who will no longer be joining the campaign of New York congressional candidate Peter Oberacker, according to the Politico. Of course not. Let me show you a photo. See, this is, they don't even talk about Republican parties anymore. This is all they talk about right here. This is all that matters. That's it. They don't even talk about the Republican Party because there's no longer the Republican Party. It's a MAGA party. And then when black people start organizing and strategizing, and when we start having our insignias and hats and stuff, then it's a crime. Oh, we can't have them marching through the streets unified. They can't be organizing. Just because you have freedom of speech to speak does not mean you have a license to say what you want about anything, anyone, and anybody without any punitive actions whatsoever. I told you before, and I'll say it again. It's time for the Democrats to stop brooding and lamenting over the fact that Donald Trump is the president of the United States. The man won the election. He is the president. That's the bottom line. Deal with it. When Barack Obama was the president, he was the president. Though he was hated and despised, but he was still the president. When Joe Biden was the president, he was hated and despised, but he was still the president. And let me tell you something about T.B. Bowman. This is me personally. I can't speak for anybody else. I can only speak for myself. Out of all the nations on the face of the earth, America is still the greatest one of them all. Excuse me. Give me one moment, please. Now, as I was saying, out of all the nations on the face of the earth, America is still the greatest of them all. We have more freedom, more liberty, more opportunities than any people on the face of the earth. It's time to stop, and I mean what I say, stop despising America. Because America is still a great place. Does America have problems? We got problems just like anybody else. We have to be patriotic when it comes to our country. Many times we're going to have to take positions we don't necessarily like, but they have to be taken. Too many individuals, they despise their country, they despise the government, they despise everything about it, so they think lawlessness and pilfering is the way to go. And then when you get caught and you get locked up and you spend decades in prison, then you want to blame somebody. No, you brought it on yourself. That's why I don't let people try to give me a bunch of sob stories. Look, let me get real. Let me take my glasses off. Let me tell you something for a minute. I think there's one of my lifelong friends still watching. I've been homeless. I've been hungry. I've been falsely arrested, sent to prison, spent a decade there. When I was in high school, I slept in alleyways. I slept on park benches. I crashed in people's houses. An article was written about me in my high school newspaper called the Southern, because I graduated from South Philadelphia High School. If you think I'm lying, go to the school and ask them to get the Southern newspaper and ask them to show you the article that was written about Tyrone Bowman sleeping on the steps, where Dr. Farnese, the principal of the school, found me one morning. My mom had died when I was 12. I refused to join a gang. I refused to go down the road in the pathway of destruction, but I went to school every day. People laughed at me. They talked about me, called me all kind of names. I wore the same clothes. I washed them down. I used to go to KFC and McDonald's and bathe. I ate the scraps and crumbs. And when my teachers found out how I was living, they came to my rescue and they came to my aid and they helped me. And now that I'm a law student, working toward, I'm an undergrad right now. Pretty soon I'll be in law school, getting that Bachelor of Science degree in criminology, fighting for true victims and fighting for those who were wrongfully accused. So don't tell me I don't know what I'm talking about. So when I come before this camera, it's not about being racist and bigoted. It's about just presenting the facts as they are. Despite all the hell that I've had to go through, I still believe in the promise of America. And I still believe that America is the greatest nation on the face of this earth. Despite everything that I've learned about my ancestors and the horrors of slavery, I still believe that America is still by far the best place to live. So patriotism to this country should be acknowledged. Donald Trump is the president. Respect the office of the presidency. That's something a lot of folks don't want to do. They don't want to hear that. I'm just talking about what happened with some individuals in a group chat text messaging. This is not an indictment on the entire Republican Party. This is not an indictment on our president. I'm talking about these particular people right here. So while prominent Democrats and Republican lawmakers alike expressed outrage over the appalling messages, J.D. Vance did not condemn the racist and misogynistic language allegedly used by the young Republican leaders. Well, that's his prerogative. He has to go along with it, because to oppose it would be to oppose the Republican Party. You know? And to try to deflect and talk about what a Democrat said, then he says, this is far worse than anything said in a college group chat, and the guy who said it would become the AG of Virginia. Well, they've had racist, bigoted attorney generals of Virginia for a long time. New York Governor Kathy Hochul called on President Trump to condemn the young Republican leaders, quote, some bad apples. These are the future Republican Party, Hochul said after the report broke. This is a whole lot of people saying things that are so disgusting and so abhorrent that everybody from the president on down should condemn them, end quote. Minority Leader Chuck Schumer said the chat was revolting and disgusting. New York Representative Yvette Clarke, chair of the Congressional Black Caucus, said that the messages show, quote, white supremacy is thriving on the right, end quote. Well, let me ask you something, Representative Yvette Clarke. Where is the Black Caucus? Where is the Congressional Black Caucus? You never see them out there on the forefront fighting for Black people. Where are they? Where are they at? We don't care about meetings and banquets and conferences. Representative Jasmine Crockett is out here on the front lines all by herself, arguing, debating, fighting. And you all don't even rally around her. In a statement, the Young Republicans National Organization said it was appalled by the language used by the GOP leaders. Such behavior is disgraceful, unbecoming of any Republican, and stands in direct opposition to the values our movement represents. The board of directors said those involved must immediately resign from all positions within their state and local Young Republicans organization. We must hold ourselves to the highest standards of integrity, respect, and professionalism. Let me say something. When President Clinton was president of the United States, and you remember the case with Monica Lewinsky, and Clinton said, quote, "I never had sexual relations with that woman," end quote, and it proved that he lied. He was emphatically, unanimously impeached in the House and in the Senate. Go back into the history books if you don't believe me. He was impeached without hesitation. Think about that for a moment. This is not a game. When individuals sit around and think, I'm going to make this a two-part video. I'll probably bring part two maybe later on over the weekend. When people sit around and tell you that it is a game and it's just harmless fun, really? They call hazing harmless fun on college campuses when it comes to fraternities, and people end up getting hurt real bad, do they not? They call hazing harmless fun, where brutality, cruelty, and animalistic tendencies are displayed by a so-called brotherhood. Damn that. You will not dehumanize me and brutalize me and tell me we're part of a fraternal brotherhood. You will get your ass whipped. Point blank. Ain't that much brotherhood in the world. We ain't going down that road. Learn to take a stand for what is right and learn to oppose what is wrong. I will fight for the rights of anybody. I don't care what color they are, what ethnic origin they come from, or what political party they belong to. I will fight for their right when individuals come up against them, and I know that what you're saying against them is wrong. I'm not jockeying for a position or a job. I'm just simply doing my job here on Tyrone Bowman Live. This channel is not monetized, and I don't want it monetized because I'm not here to make money. When I make an appeal for those who are viewers of the channel and those who are subscribers, just to send in $1 to help us get some decent equipment. Let me turn this camera around. Don't think I'm lying. Let me show you what my homemade studio looks like. Here it is. I want you to hear my voice. This is the homemade studio that I've been working with for the past almost 4 years. Ladies and gentlemen, that's real. It is time to come away from this thingamajig, as my mother would call it, and become more professional looking with a professional studio, professional lights, and everything that we need to make things happen. So we're working on it, and we're going to get there. So if people just send in $1. Come on, we got over 2,300 people on this channel who are subscribers. 1,000 people sent in $1. I could get the job done. All you have to do is go to $Pixel4. My name will pop up. My picture will pop up. That's $PIEXEL number 4. So these are and I have other programs I want to talk about. On this coming Saturday, tune in to Tyrone Bowman Live at 4:30. A friend of mine who is an independent singer, songwriter, and author. I'm going to be interviewing and conversing with him on this coming Saturday at 4:30. So you don't want to miss that interview. So I read 3 articles already. I'm not going to read any more. Not for now, anyway. It's time for people to wake up. It's time to take a stand. And while I'm at it, if you think the economy is what it's supposed to be, I want you to tell me in the group chat how wonderful the economy is in your area then. Inflation is out of control. Billionaires are getting richer and richer and richer. Farmers are suffering. The agriculture industry is suffering. Medicare and Medicaid is under attack. SNAP benefits are being just cut down to nothing. I know people who are affected. I ain't talking about black people either. In my neighborhood, we have very few black people in our neighborhood now. We have mostly Ukrainians, Russians, Japanese, Chinese, Latinos, Mexicans, and Pakistanians. Every now and then, I'll see a couple of us in the neighborhood. And some Caucasians who are still left in the neighborhood. So if you think that people are not adversely affected from all walks of life, you're wrong. They are. Look at your grocery bill. You can take $300, go to a grocery store, and don't even come out with 3 bags full of food. And don't even go to Whole Foods, thinking you're going to go there or Trader Joe's or Giant and thinking you're going to get the most healthy foods. You're going to end up spending almost $1,000 in this store. Y'all know I'm telling you factual truths here. This is not something that's made up. This is real. Look at your gas prices. How they're increasing day by day by day. What about your children that are in school? You know those Girl Scout cookies? How much are they now? They used to be like $3 a box or something like that. The same cookies, but you get even less and you pay more money. Look at all the after school activities that your parents have to pay for out of pocket. And in many instances, if you don't come from a semi-wealthy family or wealthy family, it affects you greatly. When proms come up, how are you going to look at your child and say, you know what, we just can't afford that prom? I don't know what to tell you. Graduations come up. I'm not going to be able to make it to your college graduation because we don't have the money to travel. And if you get on a cheap airline, you're going to be miserable all the way there and all the way back. Somebody in the group chat knows what I'm talking about here. You know? And too many individuals don't understand the reality of what's going on. Too many people just don't know how to deal with reality. So escapism, hey bro, let me tell you something. You got gay people in the Republican Party. They're called log cabins. And that's why you're hiding behind an icon, because you're stupid. You know how many gay closeted Republicans you have? They're terrified to be who they really are. And you probably have gay friends of your own, but you're such a hypocrite, you don't want nobody to know it. I don't have a problem with gay people. I'll tell you straight up. What? I don't have no problem with the LGBTQ community. None whatsoever. None. Let me tell you something. When I was hungry and living on the streets, they fed me. They clothed me. They gave me money. They looked out for me as a young child growing up in the hood. So you can take that, excuse me, ladies and gentlemen, you can take that bullshit someplace else. I speak plainly and boldly on this channel. Now, you have a right to say what you want, but I have a right to respond. Bottom line. All right, ladies and gentlemen, unless we have something else to talk about, I'm going to bring this video to a close, because I've been on here for almost 50 plus minutes now. You know, and at the end of the day, we're going to continue to do the work that has to be done. Till next time, thank you for watching. Never surrender. Never quit.